Hello fellow humans and welcome to the top 5 tier 6 tanks in World of Tanks Blitz. Now as always, don't forget to like, subscribe and check out my Twitch channel in the description where I stream every Thursday. Now we start off with the RL44, which is also the Eraser, which is true for pretty much any tier 6 tank, because pretty much every single tier 6 tank that exists twice, because you have a Battle Pass version, then you have a special premium event version, and then you have the tech tree version. So there's about 25 of each vehicle, and it doesn't make any sense, but here we are. So at least some of them are different, like the Cromwell and the Cromwell B, they're at least different enough. Whereas with the RL and the Eraser, I mean, if you play one, you play the other. So it's very similar. Now, the RL is on here because it's got pretty high alpha damage, the EPM's solid enough. You got 10 degrees of gun depression, which is quite a lot. The third armor isn't really that amazing. However, overall, it's a very good package, and yes, you can't get this thing anymore. However, the RL pretty much plays just the same. The only reason I'm playing this thing is because my RL is not equipped, because I've never played tier 6. So, yes, I don't know anything about tier 6, so this video is basically just me guessing what I think, based on my experience, could be the best tier 6s. So, anyway, full transparency or anything like that. So, obviously this vehicle, you got the high alpha damage, which is especially important at a lower tiers, because the less shots you gotta take, the less you gotta peek, and a lot of times in lower tiers you have no armor whatsoever on even heavy tanks. Now, while the Razor or the RL are an exception to that, where you have pretty solid armor kept on the side of the turret, it's still great to have high alpha damage to be able to simply out-trade the enemy very, very easily. And there's nothing better than just being able to wreck a guy in 3 shots, which you can do with this vehicle. Like, for example, that Ram, I mean, it's a tier 5, but, you know, he's a 3-shot from the beginning. Can't really do that in a lot of tiers, unless you have very specific vehicles. This thing, it works just about beautifully. And, well, what else is there to say about a vehicle like this? Well, it's a tier 6, and to be honest, most people won't really spend a lot of time at tier 6. It's really like one of those tiers where you get through, you play it, and you never ever play it again, because, I mean, you have a lot of tanks, but they're just duplicates of each other, so actual gameplay variety, like you have in, like, tier 7, 8, 9, 10, yeah, not that much. You've got a couple of unique vehicles that aren't duplicates. However, obviously, because of all the Battle Pass stuff going on, every tank's basically the same, which is not really that amazing. And now, obviously, tier 6 is also a tier that is infested with new tanks whenever there is a new tech tree, like, for example, the Basotto, which recently came out, and I would not want to spend my time in tier 6, tier 7 during an update when there's a new tank line, because everything's filled with the same vehicle. Now, number 2, and we go with the Hellcat. Now, complete opposite here. We have a lot of DPM, and we don't have any armor at all. Now, 2.5k DPM for tier 6 is pretty damn solid, and yes, it's the real me, unfortunately. So, why is the Hellcat on this list? Well, because it's the thinking man's good tank, where a tankster, this thing is very much in name only, and you can very, very easily play this thing like a light tank or even, well, a medium tank as well. So there is not much that you have to know to play this tank, except being good at the game, obviously. Now, it's also very easily beating the penis, which is what that tank should be called, given its very interesting machine gun placement. And now, all you're going to do with this vehicle is simply get shot down range without getting shot, as you have absolutely 0 armor. But you got 225 alpha damage, you got fine enough penetration, you got pretty damn good aim time and accuracy values of 0.31. However, the dispersion is very tankster-like, where it's bad, it's not really that great. However, with a power to weight ratio of 25, this thing is faster than some light tanks, which is already quite a lot. And that's the thing. You combine a very strong gun that doesn't really belong in a light tank with essentially light tank mobility. And boom, you got the Hellcat, which is a very nice tank to play. Enemies are capping the base, which this is low tiers after all, and you do that because this is low tiers. Now, to be honest, I don't mind the lower tiers because you expect a lot more people to be really bad. Like in tier 10, there are a lot of bad players, but you at least expect people to know roughly the basics of how the game works, even though they don't. Now, in tier 6, you know that pretty much 95% of people playing it are either on their way to a new tier 10, which means they're not quite experienced with whatever tank they're playing yet, or they absolutely don't have any clue at all. So it's a lot nicer, because you don't have to think, is this guy a super unicum? Is he a noob? Because he's definitely a noob in most cases, and that's why I don't really play lower tiers a lot, because it just feels wrong. Like, I have 8 years of experience in this game. I don't want to ruin the guy's fun that's playing for 2 hours. It's not cool. And that's not cool either, but that is RNG after all. So, it exists, and the Hellcat is a pretty good tank, so that's nice. And then we go to number 3. Well, they're not really in any particular order. They're just 5 tanks that I picked. So, here we have the Cryos, another Battle Pass tank. And this time, it's actually better than the Panther 4, which it's based on. Now, why is it called the Cryos? Well, I think the thinking behind that is very simple. If you see this thing on the enemy team, you will cry. So that's why this thing is called the Cryos. Because, here's the thing, the Panther 4 already has pretty bonkers DPM, however, it doesn't really have any armor. Now, if you make the gun even better and you slap armor on the vehicle, you have the Cryos. And this thing has 3000 DPM at tier 6. And it has 120mm of front armor. That is angled. So you might think that was a bad idea to implement, and it indeed was. Now, you can pretty much ignore my gameplay here, as I don't know how to camp, because I don't want to. So, at this point, this vehicle was a mistake, and it is really weird that it exists in the first place, because here's the thing. Yes, some of the Battle Pass tanks are better than their counterparts. Some of them are worse. So, this thing is just outright insanely above, and yes, the Panther 4 is already pretty stupidly balanced with its DPM. However, this thing just kind of takes the cake, and that's 2000 damage just like that in a tier 6, which, well, that's the thing. Like, 2k damage to me is not at all impressive. However, in tier 6, it very much is. Unless you're a Tog, because then you have like 1600 hit points, you can trade everything. Now, what I gotta do now, let's get rid of the Tog. I can peek here. I know I'm a one-shot, but I can peek anyway, because it's very unlikely that he pens me unless he's firing premium ammo. So this thing shouldn't exist, but it should be on this list. And then, we have whatever version of the Tiger that you currently want to use, because there are way too many of it. And so I'll just play the Tiger 131, because it's historically accurate, somewhat. So, yeah, there are about 20 of these. And the thing is, the Tiger 1 in tier 7 isn't actually historically accurate, because the gun it's using in tier 7, it never used it in real life. Now, this vehicle, however, it's equipped with the accurate to real life gun, because obviously it's a real tank that they just copied into the game. And then they sold it because money. So, what is good about the Tiger 131? Why did I not pick something like a Churchill? Because it's slow as fuck. And the thing is, a vehicle like this is pretty overall well balanced. You have solid mobility, you have decent armor, because obviously tier 7, you don't really have that much armor. But in tier 6, the armor is quite a bit better. But it will not be if you happen to encounter a very bad camper. So, yeah, got into a bit of a bad position here, and a camping Skoda is something that you should expect if you play tier 6 more regularly, and also tier 10 apparently, because don't ask me, I don't know either. But like, here's the thing, there are so many amazing single player games out there. Why do you gotta ruin other people's day by sucking in a multiplayer game? So, but anyway, the Tiger 131 is pretty well rounded, right? You got about 2000 DPM, which is not too bad. You got 220 alpha damage, which works. You got decent accuracy as well, 0.34, which it's horrible for higher tiers, but tier 6 that's normal pretty much, and that's not really great. The dispersion on this thing are pretty damn horrible. However, then again, it's a heavy tank, so that's how heavy tanks do. And have no idea how I'm alive at this point, because no one's actually fighting me, and I can just get free shots, but that's the thing. You don't really get punished that much for mistakes, and yeah, some of the enemies are very throwy at the moment. Yeah, that's how it goes. Welcome to tier 6, I suppose. And yeah, this vehicle, the mobility of it is bad. Like, pretty bad. It's pretty much... yeah, it's very much slower than something like an Eraser even. It's not great. And if you go even worse, then you end up with a Churchill, which you don't want to have at all. And now, it's a 2v2. I know the KV2. Yep, he just shot. And now it's a 1v2 somehow. And I'm still alive, even though I've been 68 hit points the entire time, which doesn't make any sense. Like, what? Help! And obviously, the camping Skoda, who is still on full HP because he's done nothing but camp, he's probably gonna swoop around and kill me. Yup. Stupidity gets rewarded too many times. Now, we get to the 5th one, and that is the Poodle, or the VK3002M, or the Britannia Panther, because again, it exists 3 times. Now, this vehicle is Polish, and being Polish tradition in this match, I'm being hilariously outnumbered, and my teammates are shit. So, now it's time to run away, because here's the problem. The enemy, the KV-1Ss, they went to the side here. They're now going to go forward. They're going to clear out this, and they're going to have a 5v7 advantage, right? Just like how you want to have it. You want to go together, and you want to go together to the good side to then push whatever is there. And if you encounter the entire enemy team, you fight them. So, here we have 3 heavy tanks on our team that are currently absolutely useless. For a good reason, because, I mean, they're over there, which is not what you want to do, ideally. And ass armor approved on this vehicle, certainly. Now, why is it on the list again? Again, because it's very well-rounded. It's got a bit of everything. It's got the armor. It's got very good mobility as well for being such an absolute chunker of a vehicle. And the gun is solid as well at just around 2,000 DPM. And that's the thing I feel like with a lot of these, especially the lower tier medium tanks, is that if you have lower alpha damage, but the same DPM as the heavies, then you give a free advantage to the heavy tanks, which is not really that great. So, but then again, if you have heavy tank players like that, there is not much to rely on anyway. And here I'm thinking, well, I can peek the Hellcat, but no, I can't. There is a guy that is camping right over there, and then the Hellcat gets another shot off. But at this point, this game is just very much lost already. It was lost the second those heavies went to the city side. So, that's just unfortunate. However, this vehicle, despite that, can still hold up very nicely. And if you have it, or if you even got the VK that is still around, it's still a very, very nice tank to play. No camo, no camo. That's lovely to see. Now, hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something. What is your picks? Put them in the comments, and thank you very much for watching. See you for the next one.